Today I'm going to talk about Ranger. It is a solitaire word game published by Omega Games in the 80s. It has then been republished several times, and this is a more recent edition. The game is set in the world of modern patrol operations. You will lead a platoon or a squad in a series of patrol operations in enemy territories. There are different types of operations, from recon, ambush, raids. It is a very thematic, very role-playing oriented game, and it has quite some interesting features that I'd like to discuss with you today. The game comes with several books. Of course, you have the rules of play, which are not too long. It's 20 pages, but as you can see, there isn't too much written on them. Information is divided in boxes, and boxes are divided in bullets. A lot of visual examples. I found it very accessible, very easy to navigate. Then you have a patrolling tactics book, which is interesting because it's much longer and it does not affect gameplay directly. It is literally a manual about patrolling operations in general in the real world, about configurations and how they act, and the composition and what are their strategies. As I said, you don't even have to read it if you don't want to, but I recommend you do, because it's a lot of interesting information. And since in this game so much is chrome and thin, it really helps getting you into the story and appreciating how the game is designed much better. Also, you have the tactical events. This is a photocopy that was sent to me by the publisher, but if you buy the game, you're gonna get the real thing. The tactical events book is what really constructs the story. You start reading it after you read the rules of play, and this will it's very detailed. Again, it gives you a strong sense of role-playing. There are just so many details, it's very accurate, there's military slang. It creates a strong atmosphere. At the beginning, we'll instruct you on how to form your patrol, what your mission is, how you plan your mission, give equipment to your men, what are the actions that you can have them rehearse if you want, and you will keep reading, and it will give you choices. If you want to do this, go to that paragraph. If you want to go do something else, go to that other paragraph. Certain paragraphs you will encounter once, certain other ones about movement, for example, like this section and this section, you will go back to all the time. Here it tells you, oh, if you're gonna move in the swamp, go to this paragraph. It tells you if you have an encounter, then you move here. It tells you how much you move. Repeat until you have an encounter or you are doing something else. So this is really the main aspect of the game, the main element of the game. During the game, you will switch continuously between the tactical events book and these two laminated maps. And as you can see, they are maps. They look like maps. There are no axes, no point-to-point grid. The sense of realism, it's really, really high. And it gets even better when you get to see, well, what you do with them. The mission card tells you where your insertion point is, where your objective is, and where your end point is. So for example, this is the situation I've been given. At the beginning of the game, I simply plot and I draw with this erasable marker here my plan for action on the map. For example, suppose, and I can go anywhere I want. There are no limitations. It's really like the real world. So suppose I decide first I want to proceed in the jungle, which covers me. Then I have to cross the trail here. A little dangerous, but whatever. Maybe I'll change my path there a little bit. I don't know. Then I'll complete the objective, I hope. Then I'll take advantage of the trail. Then I'll try to hide in the swamps. Then I get here, jungle, don't like the village, walk around there, and then I'll accomplish that. So first I plan my mission, and then once I have planned that, I will start working with it on the tactical events book. In this game, you do not have counters that you will place on the map. You will simply record your position using, again, the erasable marker. So for example, at the beginning of a turn, my patrol is here, and then I read the paragraphs and roll the dice, and I learned that I'll be able to advance for 500 meters. So what I do is simply use this tactical template here that tells me what 500 meters on the map are, and I record my new position on the plan that I had planned originally. Next turn, I'm a little luckier. I managed to move for 750 then again I use this and it tells me where I am. This template you also use to determine the position of the enemies. Suppose the book tells me that I am ambushed by an enemy which is 500 meters far and is attacking me for 3 hours. Then I place the template with my present position in the middle, the 12 at the direction that I'm moving, and then my enemy 500 meters, 3 hours. Well, first I establish the direction, so which is this one. Then I just use the template and it tells me where the enemy is. I mark the position on the enemy there, and a battle will follow. So it really is a nice, neat, simple system that it allows you to keep easy record of where you are and yet really to move in any direction, and things might happen to you from any direction. The sense of realism that comes from this is really strong, and messing around with the tactical template and these maps is probably one of the most fun aspects of this game. This is the laminated patrol record log, where you will record information such as the present configuration of your patrol, the time that you spend executing certain actions. But as you can see, the main part is this list that tells you all you need to know about 34 soldiers you can lead in a platoon, and even a 35th member, a partisan, that will join your platoon in certain missions. For each man, you have a lot of info. You have the weight that they can carry, their position in the patrol. You will assign them certain tasks, the weapon that they are carrying, the ammunition, and you will be given each of them a different ammunition. You have to do it for everyone. Ammunition or special equipment like cameras, night vision, binocular. And so it might take a little while just to do this. And then you also will record the speed that they can travel at according to how much weight they're carrying. And then after combat, you will have to record if they're killed, badly wounded, or lightly wounded. I will not enter into combats into detail, but there's something I want to show you. There is, of course, a table that, combat table that tells you how many people you killed and how many of your people are killed. So when you have that number, you look at the casualty distribution table to determine who are your men that are killed. And you will roll 2 dice and then cross-reference with the number of elements in your platoon or in your squad. So suppose, for example, I have a squad of 11 survivors. I roll 2 dice, and this will tell me who is attacked, who is a casualty for each attack. I have 4 casualties. I need to roll 4 times. And this is not the number on the record log. It's the number that I need to count down on the record log. So for example, if I get a 5, then I just go to the record log that you saw and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th is the one that is a casualty now. Then I go to this table that tells me if they are lightly wounded, heavily wounded, or killed, or nothing. Then I go here and I repeat, the next casualty is a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course, I skip the people that have been killed, and I just keep doing this. As you can see, this is a way of telling exactly who receives what wounds, which is great in terms of role-playing. But again, imagine if you have a platoon, and it happened to me once, I got ambushed, just showered by machine guns, and had 26 casualties. That means that I had to do this procedure, count down, see who is wounded, go on the table to determine the casualty, go back here for 26 times. And again, this could have been abstracted in a way telling you have 26 casualties and 10 of these are killed, 5 are badly wounded, etc. Again, this is just something you have to keep in mind. There will be times where the bookkeeping is slow, but it's a role-playing aspect that you really get to know what happens exactly to each man in your squad or platoon. A very important concept in the game is the enemy contact level. Each mission card will give you an initial enemy contact level, in this case it's 2, which is a number representing the level of awareness that your enemies have of your presence in their territory. And the higher is this number, the higher are the chances that you will have an encounter with some enemies. Now, here's the tricky thing. For each turn that you travel in the enemy territory without being spotted by them, the contact level is lowered by 1. So the longer you hide, the less likely it is that they will find you. However, if then you have an encounter, that will raise the level of contact, so will make it more likely that other people will see you and join the fight. And that second group arriving will raise the enemy contact, and so on and so forth. It can be a domino effect. Now, I can hardly imagine a better and more elegant, I would say, way of representing how things probably happen in real patrols, where if you're just hiding, nobody sees you, but then if somebody attacks you, that creates some noise, and somebody in the attacking group alerts somebody else, and then more people are likely to show up. And then if you can hide again for another while and lose your tail, then again you can proceed without being seen for another while. So this seems very realistic, because you can have some missions where nothing happens at all, which are the most successful ones from the point of view of patrolling. Some other ones where nothing happens for a long time, and then all of a sudden you have an event and all hell breaks loose. So it really gets, again, very realistic, but I see how in terms of gameplay it gives you a very discontinuous flow. Sometimes you'll have games where literally nothing happens, and then games where you play for an hour and a half, and then in a second you have a huge attack, and then nothing else for a long time. It gives you that sense of realism of the way patrols work, but I think that some gamers might be bothered by that. In the end, I believe Ranger is a game that probably people really like a lot or don't like much. It seems to me that it appeals a lot to a certain specific type of crowd looking for simulations, because really everything that looks like a plus on that side probably looks like a minus on the gamey game type of side. For a quote-unquote gamey gamer, the extensive bookkeeping, the detailed procedure on the casualty table, and the flow of the game that is so linear and uneventful for most of the time, and then a lot happens all of a sudden, very violent, with no middle ground virtually. I see how all this might not appeal to, again, a quote-unquote gamey gamer. Maybe looking, to somebody looking for certain architecture of the game experience. However, from the simulation point of view, somebody looking for close, detailed look inside the world of patrols, that this game definitely can give you a lot, because then you probably will not mind all those detailed procedures that really let you know your men one by one and tell you what happens to them one by one. And then probably you will want to experience that sense of completing a mission in an enemy territory where things are extremely dangerous, so you do hope that nobody sees you and nothing happens to you, and the consequences of an attack against you might be devastating. So these are really the two aspects of the game that I think probably people will concentrate on. And so I just wanted to give you a portrait of the way the game works. And I hope that helps you when you're making a decision whether you want to buy this game or not.